Hello all, it's Ruthie. Welcome to my homeland, a beautiful New Zealand, otherwise known as Aotearoa. The images you're seeing are actually stock footage, because when we flew into Wellington it was dark and stormy and frankly somewhat frightening, but we did make a friend on the aeroplane, and what do you think? She once flew into Christchurch Airport next to Linley Dodd, one of my most favourite authors ever, which is one of the exciting things about being in New Zealand. It's a small country with a small population, and you never know who you're going to meet. So once we arrived, the other Miss Hamilton, Rachel, picked us up and took us home to her lovely cosy little cottage, but it was time to go to bed. So there's nothing really to show you from that day. But the next morning we got up and went off for coffee at a cafe by the ocean, because the New Zealand beaches are really rather lovely, and actually the coffee in New Zealand is really rather excellent. So we went to a fabulous little place called Scorch O Rama, I think. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And we had lovely coffee, and they had quite a good selection of art hanging on the wall for sale. So if you're into art collecting, there's a tip for you. If you come to New Zealand, make sure you pop into little cafes, because you will get an excellent coffee, and who knows, maybe you'll also get an excellent original painting. And what could be nicer than that? So, of course, you guys, because New Zealand is actually my home, not just a holiday destination, I had some very special people to catch up with. So this isn't really a day-by-day account of what I was doing, because, some of it involves my personal life, and my friendships are very special to me. So there was a bit of a gap where we caught up with some very special people, and you know who you are, and it was lovely to see you. And then we went to the Gallipoli exhibition at Te Papa, which is one of New Zealand's biggest museums, and Gallipoli was one of our most significant wars, in that it really was where we gained a sense of a national identity, as opposed to seeing ourselves as an extension of Great Britain. It was a magnificent exhibition, but if you are really sensitive to war and that sort of thing, be advised it's a little bit confronting. And I was deeply moved by it. And at the end they had like a basin of water with not a basin of water, they have like a station where you can wash your hands if you want to sort of get a release from the heaviness of the exhibition, and I really appreciated that, and I needed it. So I have heard that it is absolutely excellent in terms of military history and accuracy. So if you're into that kind of thing, I highly recommend it, but just be advised, if you're of a sensitive nature, you may find it a little bit confronting. Anyway, on to happier topics. We then poodled across a couple of blocks to a cafe. I think it was called the Phoenix, but I can't seem to find a website for it online. Anyway, it was really pretty, and the desserts in there looked completely amazing, if you can eat such things. I have to be very careful, but it looked delicious. By the way, I will put links for as many of these places I mention as I can find links for, and they're not paid placements. It's just that New Zealand's my home, and I want to share it with you, so I will put links to the places that I can find links for. But sadly I can't seem to find a link for this cafe. But the coffee was excellent, and as I say, the desserts looked very yummy, but I can't eat much of that kind of thing. And then we wandered off to one of Mum's most favourite bookshops ever. In fact, she's been known to spend a bit too much there, but it was lovely. And I thought this was absolutely hilarious, you guys, because Rachel has taken Mum to this bookstore before, and oh my goodness, you can clearly see that Rachel knows the drill, because very quickly Rachel made her way to a comfortable armchair and just sat herself down and let Mum get onto it. But you can kind of see why it takes Mum such a while in there, because at the end of the day, it was like a maze just lined with books. It just went on and on and on and on. It even had its own shelf completely dedicated to books on Sir Winston Churchill, and I adored it. And on top of that, it had all these little bee quotes around, in keeping with the bee theme of the bookstore. So I really enjoyed that, and I thought that was quite fantastic. So Rachel's gone off to work and Mum's walking home from town with some groceries, and I'm just doing a little washing up for Rachel, and I just thought I'd show you the view outside the window. Really cool, because Rachel lives halfway down a very, very steep hill, sort of a ravine. We are in Wellington, New Zealand. And oh, look at this. What's this? We have a well-stocked garden with a lemon tree, and behind that there are even beehives because the landlady owns bees. This is one of the nice things about New Zealand, you guys. You will often find a fruit tree of some kind. There's also an apple tree in the garden, because in New Zealand we are very agriculturally minded, and it's a big part of our export, but it's also a big part of our culture. And in New Zealand we have huge respect for agriculture and the farmer. This is not one of those countries where you make little jokes about country people, because in New Zealand country people are highly respected, and between you and me, I think they should be, because without country people there is no food. And I've never understood that culture of making fun of food producers. Actually, I think it's an issue of national security. I am firmly convinced that the soldier and the farmer are siblings, and you despise one to the detriment of the other. So yeah, washing up in New Zealand, and we'll probably go out there later and collect some lemons, because they look particularly nice lemons, and I might do some baking. I think one of the reasons we respect food producers so much in this country is that no matter where you go, you're not very far from a farm. So even if you're in a major city like Wellington, which is our capital, very swiftly you find yourself surrounded by farmland if you drive for any amount of time. It doesn't take very long at all. So there is a direct visual connection that New Zealanders grow up with between farming and what we see in the supermarket, and there doesn't tend to be this visual divide that I have seen in other countries where people live in cities and then the farmers are out far away, and there's not a lot of a sort of psychological connection. There is a very deep connection between the farmer and the food, so it creates a respect. And I think one of the wonderful things about living in New Zealand is it's really easy to get excellent food, because we do take food so seriously and we treat it with a lot of respect. Hello guys, so here I am in New Zealand and I'm about to have some Vogel's bread. This is like a national treasure, and I'm going to have some Manuka honey on it, because Manuka honey is so expensive in the rest of the world that you just buy it for medicinal purposes, but around here you can just eat it because, hey, this is New Zealand, and this is the best brand of bread in New Zealand, as every New Zealander knows, Vogel's. Not to be confused with our beloved, I believe he was the first ever, I think they called them Premier back then, Jewish Prime Minister anyway, who actually saved my entire mum's side of the family from almost certain death in the Shetland Isles through his assisted passage. Very fond of Mr. Vogel's I am, because I like existing, but apparently they're not related. And I always assumed that Julius Vogel, in addition to saving my whole family from extinction, had founded this bread, but no, apparently he saved our family. But I think that's quite enough contribution to the world. And I don't know who founded Vogel's bread, but it's jolly good and it's jolly delicious. And there used to be a TV ad when I was growing up about this New Zealander trying to get into Great Britain with a suitcase of Vogel's bread, and then this Englishman confiscated his bread, and the New Zealander said, oh, but I must have my Vogel's bread, and the Englishman said, no, you're not allowed to bring that into the country. And then what do you think you saw in the next scene? You saw the Englishman having his cup of tea, just gorging himself on the New Zealand Vogel bread, which personally I find highly probable. I do love my British friends, but this bread is fantastic. And now I'm going to go and have some. Yummy. Anyway, Rachel got a few days off, so we decided to go north of Wellington. I can't say up north, because in New Zealand, if you say you're going up north, you mean you're going to Northland. And once you're in Northland, you might go even further than Northland. You might go to the far north. So in New Zealand, we just say we're going north of Wellington, because up north, well, actually up north means something entirely different. I actually grew up north. But here we are going north from Wellington. And as we went north from Wellington, we passed a lot of pine forests. Pinus radiata is the pine we passed, and these are not native forests. These are actually our third biggest export, at least it is as of the piece of information on the internet I found. And we actually are a world leader in forestry research, and our pine trees grow faster and better than anywhere else in the world. So there you go. If you're in New Zealand and you see pine forests, you are actually looking at a giant crop. So a little bit bigger than lettuces, and they take a little bit longer to ripen, but definitely part of New Zealand. And now you will know, if you see a pine forest, you'll know that's basically a big garden where we grow pine trees for the timber. After we'd driven for quite some time, I don't know how long, I'm horrible with numbers, but it was quite a drive. We arrived at Palmerston North, so we decided to go to the Victoria Esplanade, which had a gorgeous little tea rooms in it, and we decided to have lunch before we went and explored the rest of the gardens. Also had a coffee each, and I got to look at some more art for sale hanging on the walls of the tea house. Then we went outside and we pootled around the park looking at the lovely gardens, and it was really pretty. And then we found a rather remarkable playground.